Hello and welcome to the Meta YouTube channel and to this video on don't just put things into your vault, where I'm going to be trying to explain to the best of my ability my Obsidian philosophy and the way in which I process knowledge, why I do things in the way I do it, and some helpful tips and my perspective on this whole process of personal knowledge management and of going in within ourselves to try to understand our patterns and why we do things in the way that we do them. Because I've certainly been there myself, where I've just been copying and pasting things into my vault, uncritically thinking about the knowledge that is presented to me, whether it be through podcasts or videos or movies or whatever else it might be. But we'll get into all of that, and I'll walk through this reflective note I did today. And as always with all of these videos that I'm publishing on this YouTube channel, if you have any questions along the way, please pause this video and make sure to post your comment and I will get to it. So thank you for that. In the very essence of our definitions of problems, is there an ever latent solution? If we were only able to bring about our understanding of why we perceive problems to be problems in the first place, perhaps. What we need to do in terms of our Obsidian philosophy, how I think about it, how I've been able to delineate and recontextualize my Obsidian vault, is that of trying to the best of your ability to define a trajectory for your Obsidian vault. To which end are you using Obsidian in the first place? I think to the best of your ability, the better you're able to sharpen the sword of your thinking to be able to understand the use case for your Obsidian vault and why you use it in the first place. To that end, the better you're able to define that, the sharper your thinking will become and the more fluid, the more conscious your Obsidian vault will become. And the intersections between your Obsidian vault and your mind are very few in between, and you should try to the best of your ability, just as I think about this, to try to understand what the purpose of knowledge is in the first place. Why are we garnering knowledge? Why do we go to school? Why do we listen to podcasts? Why do we read books? Why do we watch movies? Why do we do all this? Why do we engage with mentality at all? And we'll get to that. You need to be able to identify these patterns, and you need to both understand the patterns of trajectory, both the patterns of your personal history from where you came to where you are and to where you are going, both in terms of your positive and your negative qualities. The better you're able to bring about understanding of your positivity and your negativity, the more spaciousness you can create, the more freedom you can create. And within that spacious freedom comes self-expression and creative expression naturally. It flourishes by itself. When you allow for life to take place, when you allow for life to flourish, it will do what it's been doing through evolution, continually, perpetually. Just allow that spaciousness to take place, and you won't probably be as confused as this man in the picture. So when we are dealing with knowledge, we are dealing with what I term to be both explicit sources and implicit sources of knowledge. And the reason that I delineate these two categories in terms of explicit and implicit sources is because the explicit sources of information are very easily understood because they are right there in front of us. They are very explicit. We typically choose where we want to listen or partake and engage with these sources of information through our podcasts that we listen to, the books that we listen to, the movies that we watched, the school we go to, the professors we have, and like why you want to study the things that you want to study. And we are typically more conscious about these. At least I am. At least that's how I frame it. At least that's how I experience it. And then we have implicit sources of information. These are typically the sources of information that we take for granted and that are implicit and ingrained, such as society, the society that you live in, the friends around you, your family, your colleagues, your beliefs, your worldview, and your thoughts. Why are these implicit, and why do I make this distinction between explicit and implicit? Because once again, these implicit sources of information are typically what I deem to be in the realm of the unconscious, in the realm of the invisible, in the yin, in the shadow, in the that which is not easily explicated, that which requires humility and wisdom to bring about understanding of. And like in terms of worldviews, in terms of thoughts and paradigm lock and ideology, and not wanting to evolve, not being able to recognize the need for evolution. All of those things are typically in the realm of implicit, because once you change the implicit, the explicit typically follows. That spaciousness again, typically, at least in my experience, makes it so that change naturally flourishes once your garden has its roots, its ground, its soil fertilized and nutritious soil is brought about. Your seeds that you plant there, the soil being the implicit, your worldview, your thoughts, your assumptions, and the seeds being what you place your consciousness in. Once the soil, once the implicit, once the invisible, once the unconscious is brought to light, brought to the sun, brought to young, you can much more easily be able to understand from whence the implicit grows and be able to nip it in the bud and to understand the root causes of implicit bias and why reality seems to just be the way that it is, instead of allowing your resistance to life to go away. So, like, this is all very abstract, but this is all, remember, it's very related to why we just put things into our vault, because how else can you explain this unconscious behavior? How else can I explain it to myself? This is the reason I found for myself why I did these things, because I fundamentally had this really bad schooling. I did not understand why I'm supposed to learn these things that I'm being taught. I don't understand why this schooling system is forcing me through all of this bullshit. And I was really damaged by the schooling system, not in some terrible way. I'm from Norway, so I'm very grateful. I'm very happy for that. But I fundamentally had problems with the why of school from the very early ages, that I was just the way that I am. I always questioned, I always was skeptical, I always was trying to understand why, even in greater layers and depth of understanding in different dimensions. So that is why, just as I had problems with the schooling system, why I have problems with just putting things into your vault. As I see it now, as I've become more wise, as I've become more conscious, as I've become more humble. Because the fundamental reasons here is that if you don't fundamentally yourself, you don't understand your reasons for putting the information that you are putting into your vault to be valuable to you or valuable to others even. If you don't see the interconnections, if you don't reflect about the information you put into your vault, if you're just intellectually hoarding such in an addictive way, just copy pasting things without questioning and systematizing and organizing and structuring things, consciously reflecting about things, then information will be just airy-fairy, like it won't be living, conscious, breathing, emotional information that really makes your life flourish, that makes you understand what life is all about, why you are here, why you are living in this structure, in this reality. And to, like, again, going back to the schooling system that I went through, just as probably you, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just all the time asked why. Like, my biggest gripe was mathematics. Like, why should I teach? Why should I learn about mathematics? When even as a young child, when I asked the teacher for why is this proof true? Why is this explanation that you're giving me for the answers you're drawing on the table, on the whiteboard, if they are true, why can't you give me the reasons for why it is true? Like, and I was, because of my metacognition, because of my thinking about my thinking, because of the schooling system fundamentally telling you not how to think, but what to think, like, that just became a huge problem. So again, all of this is interconnected, all of this is related. I'm sorry if I'm going on some tangents here, but try to see this, try to see it holistically, because the way that we are today, the reason that we are thinking about things that we are thinking about, the way that we are thinking about these today, is because of our history. So go back to your personal history, reflect about your schooling system, reflect about your way of life, reflect about your history, reflect about your present, and reflect about your future. Because if you do that, if you, this promise of reflection brings about clarity, it brings about understanding. And isn't that fundamentally what you want? Because that's what I want. And that's why I choose to do this in this way that I'm doing it. So recognize those patterns. Try to understand pattern recognition. And through pattern recognition, your strategy, your evolution will be even greater. It will be more conscious. So this is why I'm saying all of this. Your quality of life and your quality of thinking interplaying on one another will determine the quality of your vault. So take it as you please, but that's the way I see it. So this diagram, I've made it to be able to see on the left side here, we see context of knowledge. The context, this is the implicit. This is the realm of the unseen. This is what is underlying the worldview of any one individual. And my proposition is that the more you are able to lean yourself to the realms of the implicit, to the realm of the contextual, the realm of the invisible and unconscious, the more you will be able to understand how your perceptions about reality is formed, how you create your perceptions, and from whence your perceptions are garnered. And through that understanding of the implicit, of your mental creation, of how you are constructing your thoughts, you will be able to understand your interpretation of that implicit, that unconscious, that shadow, that invisible layer of reality, the invisible dimension of reality. And if you do that, if you bring about this self-reflective insight into your mind, you will be able to see in better and greater depth and detail and resolution how to synthesize a way of thinking and of relating to the world that is based on an understanding of your perspective and not a truth, not a absolute, because your thinking, my thinking, all of what I'm sharing, all of what is shared anywhere is merely a perspective and not the total sum of reality. So bring about humility, holism, radical open-mindedness, recontextualization of knowledge, philosophy, spirituality, non-attachment, freedom, self-knowledge, growth, and creativity to be able to understand. And through this circular process that we are going through, going from the perspective that we have, understanding that it is all awareness, the awareness of meditation that we get within ourselves, of understanding where thoughts are formed and whence they come from and to where they are going. So all about the quality of your vault being very intimately tied into the quality of your thinking, the quality of your life. So again, some pointers here. Holism, as we've discussed. Mental and intellectual synthesis. Seeing things from multiple perspectives, connecting them together, seeing the intersections, thinking systematically, being able to recognize patterns, always preferring quality over quantity. So being able to understand why something is true qualitatively instead of just having more content, try to bring about quality of content and quality of reflection. So one approach is reading more, listening more, and partaking more in events and podcasts and books. But another approach is just merely being more conscious about what you're doing when you're doing it. So epistemology, methodology, science, philosophy, and this idea of coalescent suffusion, which is a term to just bring about an understanding of your different areas of life, all the roles that our ego has to play in this reality, in this social matrix that we are partaking in our work life, our business life, our private, our relational, familial, societal, mental, physical, and nutritional health dimensions of our being. Try to bring all of those together in a holistic way and synthesize them. Suffusion, gluing, melting together and understanding how one part of your life affects another part of your life. All of that will make it so that the quality of your vault will be improved. So recontextualization of mentality and wisdom, and of wanting to understand knowledge for its own sake, because knowledge about reality is its own gift, it's its own reward. It's not that you are understanding more about how to use Obsidian and how to use knowledge and how to process knowledge, because it will selfishly serve your bias and your egoic agenda, but rather because the knowledge itself is valuable, and that opens your mind to curiosity and of recognizing things that you previously wouldn't have been able to recognize because of the way and the frame of mind being recontextualized. Now you see things in a more clear light because you're not selfishly worried about how you're going to use this information to benefit of it. You're just learning because learning itself is valuable. And to this point, sleeping, quality sleep, meditating, your nutrition and your fasting are all examples of ways in which the clarity of your body mind can be garnered, can be improved. So that's it, really. I think this is the key. I think this is the ameliorative medicine to just putting things into an Obsidian vault and understanding the totality and the holism of this through self-knowledge is of vital importance. So I hope these ideas might prove useful and that I was able to explain my thought processes in a succinct and eloquent manner. I hope I was able to bring about understanding from my perspective. And once again, I thank you humbly for sharing your time with me and partaking here. And if you have any questions at all, if you want to speak to me, if you want to comment with me or like have help from me, I would be more than willing to serve that function. So please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you once again so much for watching, and take care.